Alright. Next up, if I recall correctly, is to infiltrate the. Oh, here we go.
You know,
Yeah, we need to actually stake out the Black Knight and see where he's headed.
you know,
Alright, Sly, get out your Wii remote and oh wait, no, not that one.
you know, this part of the game is fine. At this point, the game is fine.
Well, gameplay wise, it looks like it.
Yeah,
Still not my cup of tea, but
I mean,
Okay,
you know,
hold on.
It's fine.
Before we're continuing, Shiroi, like I said, this is the end of chapter 4 actually, which means that we are to confront the Black Knight. Again, the Black Knight overall is basically just another villain. But
Okay.
examine what has happened in the game so far, and I want your honest to God guess, because again, of here, I get the idea that you're still the one that has to guess this.
What?
Hold on, I'm about to ask. Judging from what has happened in the game so far and everything, what do you think exactly happened in terms of the Paradox interacting with Penelope? Like he kidnapped her and forced her to do to make the robots, or something else? What do you think?
Honestly, I don't know. I haven't even thought about it, but
Well,
Honestly,
it was treated like somewhat of a deal at the beginning, but they've never mentioned it since.
that's a major problem with the story.
Well, I do believe there are some sprinkled in. The first major guess is the fact that the Paradox has a time machine of his own. The only people who have no knowledge on doing the time machine are Bentley and Penelope, which clearly leads to the conclusion, the Paradox is forcing Penelope to work for him. The question is how he managed to kidnap her, why she was sent here, why she's making all these robots, and what is the Black Knight doing to
was
her?
she?
It'd be
Was
like
she a pawn the whole time?
It'd be like if in Ace Attorney 7 or something. Early on there's a plot point of what's this gun doing on Phoenix's desk? And then we don't know about it until halfway through the last.
Okay, to be fair, Bribs, it's an object and it has a specific name in that case, Chekhov's gun.
I wasn't done yet. And then it turns out halfway through the last case, Phoenix was planning a bank robbery. Dun dun dun.
Again,
bank
like I
robberies
said,
are too mundane for the Ace Attorney universe.
in that case, it's an object and it has a name. In that case, Chekhov's gun.
That said, though, Dwibs and Shuri do have a point, though, Tio. For as serious a plot point as you think it should be, the whole Penelope's missing thing really doesn't get brought up until the point where we finally address it.
No, I get the idea that it could have been paced much better, probably. But I do believe there is already some, something to make you at least think about it through the course of the game. Just because they don't actually bring it up doesn't mean that, it doesn't exist.
And in my humble opinion, the game did a sucky job at that.
I don't think anybody's arguing that
You've
it's
certainly hinted at it quite a lot.
Regardless, Bentley is in here to discover if the Black Knight can actually give more information about her location too.
Once Operation Overlord is complete, I will be unstoppable.
I will compute it all.
Yeah, mate. You say that.
also artificial voice.
But I mean, but you're from the future. I'm pretty sure you've seen bits where even the villain does succeed. There's some sort of screw up, or they misinterpret the prophecy or something, and they end up dying.
Weirdly enough, now that I think about it, the story never mentions the gang sending Grizz back to prison or anything. Just that they beat him up.
They think correctly they did it. The problem is again the fact that
they never mention actually sending him in the cutscene. Like we figure out later.
I'll let you check it again then. But I do believe they at least do it. To be fair, we still get if I recall correctly the post credit.
Yes. Like I said, we do eventually figure that out. But if I recall correctly, in the present tense, I don't think Grizz really gets mentioned after Murray beats him.
Well, it's kind of the same for Toothpick. Remember, the Toothpick is stuck in the past with Tennessee.
That's the thing I may go, well, at least with Toothpick, we got how his operation was dismantled and, Tennessee captured him. But with Grizz, it's just, we beat him up. What's stopping him from starting things up after we've left?
Being beat up.
Because Bob is actually back in shape, I guess.
I
He can
guess.
take care of himself or something.
That and being beat up is a bit hard to get up.
Well,
Also, I
Dwibs,
guess
Dwibs,
Metro,
you'd
the
be-
new it's a thing. Jova, Metro, the new gods giving knowledge, so it's okay.
That's the thing, Dwibs. Just getting beaten up doesn't always stop people from getting back up. Why do we fall down, Master Dwibs? So we can pick ourselves back up.
Jervis, like I said in our Batman and Robin commentary, because I was running down the corridor too fast.
But
Still haven't given up on me. Never.
until Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. That's a plot. That's a plot point that pisses me off more than probably this one's gonna do.
You know what? I wouldn't blame you for that. That one is pretty stupid. That being said, we are approaching the point where a lot of people pretty much gave this game the middle
Again,
finger
like I
and
said,
walked
it's near
away.
the end of the chapter, and like I said, the game has a couple of surprises yet. You obviously cannot like them, but they are surprises nonetheless.
Let me put it like this. Most of the problems with this
Ow.
game I can attribute to stupidity instead of malice. What we're going to come to later, there is precedence to say that could have come from malice because it's pretty bad. But again, we have yet to get to it. So for now, let us just traverse the rafters and rooftops with Bentley here.
To be fair, this gameplay section is pretty neat. You have to use all Bentley's gadgets in order to modify, not just sometimes only deactivating, but sometimes just modifying the lasers a bit just so you can progress. But it's never like a complete cakewalk.
Functioning too often. Maybe I should give them wheels instead of legs.
It's a cute reference to Sucker Punch's first title, Rocket Robot on Wheels.
And where is that stinking Paradox when I need his help? He owes me everything for stealing Bentley's time machine plans. Bentley? Oh, Penelope, what a little fool you were.
Oh no. My plans? That means I caused all this?
It
I
was
mean, you
me
could have
all along.
you could have figured it out a while ago,
no,
Bentley.
no.
Though.
Don't you see, Dwibs? What's implied in what Bentley is interpreting this as is that Penelope has essentially been forced to give up the plans at some points, and that's why she was missing, which Bentley somehow did not notice until
No, okay.
suddenly.
The thing that baffles me a bit is the fact that he didn't realize that the Paradox having a time machine meant that someone stole his plans. Again, it was only him and Penelope who knew it, so again, Penelope missing should have been a key factor for that.
And again, considering
whatever.
how he and Penelope were in a relationship, you'd think her not showing up the first day or so would have at least sent a warning signal
But
to
don't
him.
you see, Jova? Bentley is a nerd. He doesn't understand these things.
You know,
But
honestly,
no, instead we have to deal with Carmelita's nonsense.
yeah, we have to deal with a lot of people's nonsense in this game, Troy, but, Tio, I'll just say this. Flubber, I was willing to let pass because I at least got laughs at the humor of it. This game, no, I don't get laughs at its humor, so I don't give it a pass. I just find it annoying.
I thought you laughed a couple of times at jokes at this.
The humor as a whole, Dwibs. It's like I said, the humor in this game as a whole is just a step down from the original trilogy.
Well, Dubs, you did laugh at a couple, at like 3-5 jokes of reference rap. Does that mean?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Like, let's remember, Dwibs, there were some moments where we went, hey, it's not so bad at Fairy Fencer F. Like, if that can have its good moments, well, of course something like this could have its good moments.
And yeah, I can count like a total of like 4 times where Joe was all like, oh, okay, this actually seems better. And then suddenly something happened and Joe was like, okay.
I take it back.
It was waiting for me to compliment it.
Maybe they wanted it to fail. Maybe they knew.
I'm
Like,
trying
I
to...
don't
But
understand.
that's the thing, Shirai. I've been looking into it. I've been doing some research on my own because I've got my curiosity got the best of me. Now, aside from giving the usual supervising producer roles for the Neptunian spin-offs, now Komizuno hasn't done anything in recent years, actually. Like on a big involved skill that doesn't involve just giving the green light to Neptunian spin-offs. I mean,
It really just makes me wonder if Fairy Fencer F floundered so badly.
I really get the feeling she meant for Fairy Fencer F, because remember that game, the PS4 version is for the sequel hook. I really get the feeling she was counting on that game being her magnum opus.
That being said, here's the weird thing though. If we're to believe that she had originally plans for it, why is it that the original release doesn't have that sequel hook and it's only the re-release that does? Like, okay, let's assume that the re-release wasn't initially planned. What was their plan initially? Like, was that supposed to be it right there and then? Like, okay, here's a weird thing. Like, normally, if anything, it's the original title that has the sequel hook. But no, it was the re-release of all things. And don't get me wrong,
Maybe
it was...
they thought the re-release might attract new fans.
True, yeah, and you know, I mean, I guess to be fair, they...
The only thing we had, Joe, is Kenito's interview saying that even as they were making the PS3 version, they realized that they could at least do things better. So that's what the PS4 version was for, because you'd think they would actually fix it during the development of that original version, but I guess not. But
and from what we've seen, they did improve some things, and then somehow Baffling made some things actually worse. But yeah. I digress. They did, for the most part, improve on things. But again, I just find it weird that of all the things they thought to add, a sequel hook was it. Like, it just feels like adding on an unneeded bout of extra pressure to yourself here.
I just realized something in the meantime.
Yeah.
None of the 3 endings of Time and Eternity have a sequel hook.
I mean,
well...
it'd be like if in 10 years' time, EA re-released all the Journey stories as a standalone game, but at the end of the Journey 3, add on a sequel hook where Alex's granddad gets kidnapped or something.
Well, from what we know about Time and
to be fair, compared to the vanilla ending of the Journey, the Champions, it would actually probably be an improvement.
Well,
what are you talking about, Tio? That ending was great. I made it myself.
Oh no, okay, not the fan made. I'm talking about the sequence where you go like at that point before the start of the actual journey per season, and you just see a simple game that the players did.
Anyway, Tio,
I can see it now. Actually, his granddad actually got kidnapped by V, who is jealous at Alex's mum for her design getting rejected for his ones. So as an act of revenge, she kidnaps his ailing granddad and says, "If you don't accept my design, I'll do something evil to your granddad."
Anyway, Tio, regarding what we know about the making of Time and Eternity, that game was essentially just the director going, you know, I'm really happy about this marriage I've recently gotten into. I want to share that happiness with the world. Like, don't get me wrong, Time and Eternity was definitely an ambitious game. We covered that. But I do
Okay, here we go. It's time. Get ready, Shiroi.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna hate it.
The Black Knight is Penelope. Oh man.
Okay. Believe it or not,
there's a lot actually to talk about it, but I'm gonna have to ask both you and Shiroi, and to an extent also Jova, to wait until the end because we're actually that close to actually also the boss fight against her, so you get also the full context about it.
Also,
now, the positive that I give, she's voiced again by Dave Tutongi and she's fine in her job, but the question is it worth it?
It's weird, though. She sounds different from how she was voiced in the third game.
Excuse me?
I'm not going to critique it now because, trust me, the
Needless
game
to say,
will give me...
Bentley's just like having whatever kind of emotional floating at the same time.
Yeah, oh, look, I kid you not...
And hold on, here's another terrible thing that we do that should never do. We get to see Bentley's eyes. No, this is wrong.
God, no.
Please stop.
It's like the Sonic characters without their gloves. Like, stop it now.
God, this is stupid, but... Okay, and get this?
So yeah,
this
Penelope now is just straight up working for the Paradox, but I know what you're thinking. Okay, maybe we actually know the reason why it would become more clear, you know? It would explain why she would decide to do that and turn face against Bentley. Well, we have our upcoming boss fight to do that. But the problem is that Bentley is out of commission because of understandable emotional turmoil. Yeah. So as a result, Sly and the others have to plan stuff on their own. First up is a mission where we have to gather explosive bulbs.
You need Bentley back. I am still a bit bewildered that the Black Knight was a friend of yours. Yeah, well, obviously she's no friend of ours now. In the face of such treachery, there is but one option. We storm the castle and smash this villain!
Okay, on one hand, turning a character who, to be honest, I barely cared that much about in the third game, because I mean, it's one of those weird things where new characters show up right at the very end of stuff, so it's a bit tricky to develop them properly, especially when it's the last game and you're focusing on a lot of other stuff you built up from the previous two. So, doing a twist like that to a relatively new character can be a good thing, but my main issue really is that it's just kind of treated Oshi's evil now. And yeah, Bentley had the natural reaction you'd expect.
Believe it or not, Glibs, it gets worse.
Also like Clockwork.
But I mean, Bentley has the normal reaction you'd expect. But to be honest, it's like as soon as it happens and as soon as Bentley goes into his shell, in more ways than one, it's kind of like it's kind of like the game saying, "Oh, Penelope's evil." Anyway, on with the story.
Believe it or not,
actually, we're actually building on that. Don't worry, because now again, her being the Black Knight and everything, it means that we have to actually enter. I argue that having this mission right before the boss fight makes a bit less sense, because it will become more clear. Well, I was about to mention, it becomes more clear that when you actually see the actual mission where you have to go fight against the boss, unlike the others, you get the briefing and then you cut immediately to the boss fight. You don't get like a level that's set up like the other boss fights tend to have in the rest of the series. So my question is, why don't you just attach this mission to that as the prelude to the boss fight instead?
Like, I'll just say this, Dibs, the way you described it, if it was just that, that would have been better than what they do, because, they try and explain it, and that just makes things even worse.
Let me guess, she never liked him. Anyway,
I mean,
it's not that.
Well,
but it's
no, no, actually, that is part of it. Shiroi got part of it right. She didn't get all of it right, but yeah, Shiroi, the game will go on to suggest that Penelope never truly loved Bentley. But I'm not going to go into the full details of yet.
And even then, they still do that thing where, Bentley's so cute when he's dumb, when he's being dumb.
So, I'll just say this right now. It is shockingly fitting that this came out in 2013, the same year as Frozen, because, hey, look, I'll just say this. Penelope's twisted and villainy makes the Han scene from Frozen look like Shakespearean genius by comparison. And trust me,
oh god, I don't like where this is going.
Shiroi, I ain't gonna spoil, just try and enjoy the ride. But look, I wasn't kidding when I said this is where a lot of people did in fact drop the game and denounce it, because
I tried to foreshadow it the least, but there were signs from the very beginning that this might have been the outcome, like the Black Knight having Penelope's symbol on his fucking chest, and the voice being roboticized was still technically Dave Tutongi, hence why I did not actually brought up the voice acting.
Here's what I would have gone with: have it be brainwashing. But no, she's in her right mind.
Okay. As much as it can be potentially provide an interesting plot point, which is something that is going to happen in the next chapter, actually, with the brainwashing. The idea of a brainwashed female character that acts evil because of it is something akin to what happened to a lot of female characters in comic books, and it's almost akin to fridging, so I'm not sure if it's a good alternative.
It would have been better than this, because they could have... Here's the thing. They could have knocked Penelope out of it, and then we wouldn't have had a dumbass...
Hold on, I wanted Waves to listen to this particular dialogue because we tried to make these owl henchmen so British.
Australian.
So it's clearly someone is trying too hard. Got it.
It's or pretending to be Australian, pretending to be British.
Or, guys, what if I told you that it's actually a Brit doing that, just an over-exaggerated Brit? Because,
Okay, I actually don't know who this additional voice actor is. It's another shooting gallery
Because,
section.
believe it or
No.
not, there have been a lot of cases where people of a particular country or whatnot do just over-exaggerate their accents for the acting bit.
Anyway, Jova,
Yes?
you know where I've actually seen this kind of plot twist before, where characters that compared to the other ones we barely know, yet when they come back they turned out that they were evil
Mission
and they were being
Impossible.
brainwashed. No, actually, Power Rangers SPD.
Okay, I don't have much experience,
Wait,
so
wait,
can
wait,
you
wait, wait.
tell me?
SPD.
You know, the
The
other
police.
Rangers.
The
What?
police one.
Well, okay, to be fair, Dwibs,
Basically, Joe,
there are
in-
actually several where there are police ones. Let's not forget
Okay,
Lightspeed Rescue.
the one that started all those cow explosions. But anyway, basically what happened was, spoilers by the way, in SPD, the original Rangers aren't the ones we know throughout the series. It's basically this team called the Alpha Squad, but they go missing. Hence why we have the current Rangers taking their place. And then the Alpha Squad are mysteriously return, and they're about to retake their place. But it turns out that all this time they've been working for the bad guy, and there was no hypnosis or brainwashing of any kind whatsoever. They legitimately turned bad because,
Okay.
evil.
I'm pretty sure this was the finale run of episodes as well, wasn't it? It was a whole
Yeah,
thing.
I think it was the finale. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I do get where you're coming from. However, let's give it credit there. In their regards, they weren't previously established. Well, okay, they were established as heroes in lore, but not so much as to the audience.
And yes, it's Carmelita this time giving it the briefing.
Also, the thing I hate about this also is that this is Bentley's arc. And Bentley's arc, like I mentioned, is
Going to bring that up too.
weak.
Not another word, Sly.
Your speech
Yeah.
does nothing to lift our spirits, Sly.
Galeth, do you think we could plant your explosives on the bridge controls?
Sounds! This plan rings true!
Okay.
And yes, like I
I was
mentioned,
trying to do a Bentley impression for a second.
and yes, like I mentioned, we get these also articulated plan, like we mentioned, planting explosive and everything. But when the briefing is over, we come back to just the explosive already being planted and everything. Which, to be fair, it's a cute gag, as you're about to see. Splinter Cell reference.
Some would argue to you that supposedly this
Hello?
was to make this.
And just one battle, and you're good to go. Again, it much like with stuff like the first chapter, I get the idea there's a piece of the game missing here.
Some people do argue that the reason this level is where it is because this was meant to be like the Breaver level, gameplay-wise, which is ironic because story-wise
here
it's
we go.
anything but a Breaver level.
I'll sally forth and
No,
smash your
Galeth,
botanical
please.
monstrosities. Galeth,
Hey, time for some more contrivance. Bonk.
Yay.
Why, thank you, Galeth. I've been looking all over.
Sorry, the audio glitched out again.
Seriously though, she sounds like she's voicing Penelope differently than she did in 3.
Okay, this
Well,
I
she's the
don't
villain
really
now,
see it.
So,
And Carmelita's out.
Well, also the others, it's just line against this. You remember Operation Overlord, which means we have a giant boss fight.
Stop her?
Oh, piece
Sure,
of
why
shit.
not?
well, I mean, it's small raccoon against giant robots.
Oh, Dwibs. Like, that would stop Sly. Let's not forget Sly literally took down an immortal
Okay,
mechanical
I think
giant
Dwebs,
owl in the
I
first
think
game.
Dwebs, you mentioned it in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie where Robotnik leaves his cockpit open where there's a guy pointing his gun at him. Sly has a golden arrow. He could have sniped her.
That too, yeah.
But here's the thing. Okay, this boss fight is not that bad. You're supposed to actually hit the weak spot like 6 times in total, two each, and you have to juggle the arrow.
Holes.
Yeah, in between here. There you go. I don't understand how those arrows manages to pierce the glass and how Sly manages to increase supply, but I'll roll with it.
That said, though, essentially this is kind of a bit of a similar boss to Carmelita's boss fight against the dragon. I mean, you even use
Not
projectiles.
really. It's
Well,
completely.
hold on.
In how the attacks
Hold
are
on.
performed, it's completely different. It's kind of like an engine boss.
Well, to you, it's similar in the sense that projectile-wise you have to land it on the targets here, and of course then you have that quick time bit where R1, R1, R1. It's not necessarily the same, but like I said, in a similar guise, essentially.
There we go. Of course, the weak point in the center is gonna be a bit more tricky. As long as you're moving, basically, you're fine against the shockwave and explosions. There we go.
But yeah,
Oh, this one actually has a bomb.
I mean, it's weird, but...
And there's no explosion! Missing effect much?
Huh.
Okay.
It was supposed to be an earth-shattering...
Kaboom!
But yeah, I do wonder if they wanted the voice actress to sound not as nerdy as she did in the third game, because again...
Keep in mind, a bunch of years had passed, and Deitu Tongi, if I recall correctly, has been voicing stuff from a long time, meaning that she might have just aged herself.
Well, again, that's the thing. It's not so much that, it sounds like she's missing the inflection that she obviously put in Sly 3. It's not about her sounding older, it's just, she literally just sounds hotter, in a sense. Like, she's missing...
There's also this, as much as, it might be obvious as a statement to this, Sly, okay, aside from Bentley, Sly and the others have absolutely no sympathy for Penelope, nor actually have questions to ask how she got here. They immediately are on the killing as soon as the twist is out.
That's another problem with the story here. Like, when certain revelations happen, the heroes are just, fine, let's go on with it. Again, for a story that should arguably have the biggest stakes of the series, the characters do not treat it like that. And as a result, I can't bring myself to care that much.
Alright, here we go. Because
she's firing missiles at them.
Okay, this was just phase 1, though.
Oh.
Shit.
You had ample time to run out of the way, Sly.
And yet he survived.
Although the preoccupation is that he's not in pain, but that he's stuck.
Any idea what that suit was worth? It was one of a kind. You cost me too much already, Cooper. It's time to pay the fiddler.
That's enough, Penelope.
Huh?
You heard me.
Well...
Your suit, is that my moat monster?
Yeah, what's left of it anyway. The design was adequate. I made some adjustments.
That's my way of saying it's shit.
Is that what people commented on the level design of this game?
Oh wait, here we go.
Time for some answers.
Why? For you, of course. I had to make you see how things could be.
I'm not going to be one of the
Same.
Hold on, it gets even worse.
Bad guys? That's kind of funny, Bentley, seeing as how you work for a thief. But you know the most valuable thing Sly ever stole? Your potential. Together, we could change the
Yes,
world.
this is the exact same speech Dr. M gave him.
Honor for chump change. When are you gonna wake up?
So you sold out to La Paradox for the money?
And that's the worst part.
You're
Ben,
not
like,
listening.
in some particular phrases, Penelope is absolutely right. Bentley and the gang, like he kept saying, have this kind of holier-than-thou attitude, even though they're still fucking thieves. So Penelope actually saying that you should, not trying to have this kind of weird type of boisterous pride towards your monarchy is completely right. But nonetheless, she still has that stupid speech about your potential not being used.
Not only that, Tio, but here's the problem. Don't often take advice from somebody who's willing to sell out on a plan just to get rid of someone's best friend. Cause let me make things
Almost as if, again, all of these are criminals.
Well, no, Tio. There's being a criminal, and then there's being a psychopathic murderer, because what she was doing was essentially trying to get Sly out of the way, because apparently...
Anyway, let me talk briefly about the boss fight, why not? This is the one boss fight that actually allows you actual freedom, because it's not like just waiting until the attacks are over. You can attack Penelope's at any point. However, your stamina meter is connected to the dodge. You cannot dodge internal, but if you conserve it enough, you can perform a special attack. Otherwise, it's pretty much just rock and sock, kind of like a prototype for arms when you get down to it. It's just a matter of positioning correctly.
I was gonna say rock and sock.
Go on, Jova.
Okay, so as you can imagine, people did not take kindly to the Penelope, because let's be honest, I can attribute most things to stupidity. That ends with this plot twist where the game story just becomes bad fan fiction.
I don't like it.
A lot of stuff is harkened to bad fan fiction in this game. Like Sly and Carmelita's relationship just going up in smoke and Sly not caring about it. The time travel being as contrived as it can possibly be just to get us to one point to another. Doing stuff for the sake of cool even when it doesn't make sense. It's bad fan fiction tactics. And this is chief amongst them. Supposedly, the story is suggesting that Penelope all this time truly cared, well, actually didn't even really love Bentley, but was just using him to make the money. If that's the case, then she did a damn good job hiding it, seeing as how, you know, in Sly Free, it was Sly she had a crush on in the first place before even so much as really noticing Bentley's feelings for her. And by
the way, she's basically out of the game now, basically. You get to see what happened to her in the post-credit, in the actual credits, when it's actually mentioned, but otherwise, yeah, now that's Penelope.
I'd have thought something like that would be for the final boss.
Which is the thing that I also said. This really should have been the actual final chapter to give a bit more pathos to everything.
I mean,
like,
people
keep in
probably
mind,
still wouldn't have liked it, but at least it would have felt climactic.
Absolutely. Like, keep in mind, Penelope is technically the catalyst, the reason that the Paradox even has a time machine. So,
look,
maybe going to wrestle...
The thought process might be similar, like, say, again, having Entropy not being the final boss in Crash Warped, instead just like halfway point. But I don't know. Hold on, time for some more contrivance towards our next destination.
Well, we finally deciphered enough to realize
because the next place to go is Exotic Arabia with the ancestor of Salim Al Cooper.
Also, you know, you are so close to dabbing every time you do that.
Okay,
good
no.
thing Carmelita just happened to have a coin that she got from the museum.
Okay. Here's where we really gotta talk about how the time travel plot device don't make sense. A doubloon. A bout of currency that probably was made years before the time date we're heading to, just happens to take us to this one random time date. Like, okay, Jay reviewed...
Maybe somebody had a doubloon collection.
This great art style is completely wasted for this sequence. Also, why is Clockwork there?
So much, but when it really mattered,
well, Ben took it so well.
And yeah, there you go.
He became a better person as a result of it. It's just that it's just wrong.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna cover that after this part is over. But for now...
No, it's over now, Jova.
Well, first I gotta talk about the doubloon thing. That doubloon taking us to this time date doesn't make sense. How does a doubloon, a bout of currency which could have literally been used years after it was made, take us to a point that was years after it was made? It doesn't make sense. It's like if all of a sudden, hey, this Nintendo DS that I've owned all along suddenly takes it to a random point in my life instead of the point where it was made. The time travel is not explained well, and they clearly didn't think it through.
I think okay, as someone who has been more tolerant towards the catalyst thing, I think it could have been reworked with just a simple way. Have the Bentley locate the time coordinates of what the Paradox henchmen are doing and lock on them and use those as the catalyst. That justifies the gang arriving in these different time periods without this kind of contrivance.
I agree, but let's talk about the elephant, or shall I say the now evil mouse in the room here.
Oh.
Penelope. Even people who tried defending this twist at first just gave up because, really, it doesn't make any narrative sense. So, the twist is that Penelope apparently got jealous of Sly supposedly holding down Bentley's potential. Yeah, Penelope, there's just one little problem with that. Sly had already broken up the group in Sly Free. He wasn't around to hold Bentley down. Hell, get this, Penelope, by helping the Paradox kickstart this plan, you made it so that Bentley went back to Sly. So, the very motivation that is hers, she just only made worse when it was non-existent to begin with. But guess what? But it gets even worse, Shiroi. The game implies that Penelope never truly loved Bentley for being himself. No, she just loved him for his brains. Problem: in Sly Free, it was Sly she had a crush on. She only fell in love with Bentley when Bentley came to her rescue later on. So what the hell? But guess what? It gets even worse. So implying that she never loved him and that she was planning to use him all along, and that she never cared for the rest of the group? Man, Penelope must have gone to the Han school and surpassed the teacher that is Hans from Frozen, because in Sly Free, I seem to recall her specifically going out of her way to help Murray when one of her plans got him captured. And mind you, there was no one else around for her to talk to. So what the hell kind of game was she playing, if that's the case?
Also, they kind of do the whole the villain is kind of sort of right, except not really bullshit.
Yeah, like, look, look, yes, they're thieves, Penelope. You know, never mind the fact that you were a member of that band of thieves, you hypocrite, and what you're doing...
You're trying to murder an entire lineage!
Yes, and seriously, again, for something that wasn't even Sly's fault, and again, was not a thing. But supposedly, all this time in Sly Free, Penelope was truly evil. You know, ignoring the fact that her background was that she wanted to get out of the more evil game with the whole Black Baron background. You know, how she said it was more so her getting in over her head and now she wanted out of it. I guess she was lying, because now she's back to another black gimmick.
Oh, Jova,
I've
got it. It's just like Sly. She had the itch, you know? She wanted to get back in this shit.
Like I said, before we could attribute this to stupidity, but I have to ask, did the writer just hate Penelope? Because...
Or completely did not understood the character. That's a possibility.
I've got my own theory. Maybe, like me, the writer felt that, you know, Penelope, along with the other ones, was introduced in a pretty weird spot. The third game of a trilogy, when that third game had a whole bunch of other stuff to wrap up, and hence the newer characters got a bit left in the cold, comparatively speaking. So he or she, I don't know how many there were or who wrote it exactly, decided, I'm gonna see if I can do something with this one. The issue is, I don't think even I, a guy who loves coming up with weird, humorous, darky endings for characters for fun, would have ever thought, not even just Penelope being a bad guy, because I mean, a plot twist like that, you know, a good guy turning out to be evil, can work if you do it right.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is it's not really done. It's not really done well. I think it would have been less offensive if, like, I don't know, it turned out Penelope had died or something.
Or like I said, if she'd been brainwashed.
Not off screen, because I still hate that.
Like, okay, look, all controversies of brainwashing females aside, Tio, you cannot tell me that would have not have been better than this, because at least, if she'd been brainwashed, we could have knocked her out of it, she could have gone back to being a good guy, and, you know, Bentley's life wouldn't have had to have been crushed. It pretty much...
no, Jeva, but don't you see? It's one of those special types of brainwashing where if you do that, they instantly die.
And that's the
thing.
A
slightly less stinky pile of shit is still a pile of shit.
And that's the thing. This not only robs Bentley of the happy ending he attained in Sly Free, Kudos, that's another character whose happy ending from Sly Free is now ruined, but his character arc. That was his character arc. Something this devastating to his life was wrapped up that quickly. Ball to the crap. Game. Ball to the crap.
Not just that, there was also the problem that this so-called new arc for Bentley and Penelope feels so rushed. It's given little to no time to breathe. Everything comes at the same time. Even if this was a good idea, it's not even executed, not even remotely close well. Like it already fails at the concept stage. But it also fails at execution. It fails at everything. This entire idea was like, seriously, this is so stupid.
And you know what's worse?
Like, not to what Joe was saying about the Hans comparison. That's the thing. When it comes to the Hans thing in Frozen 1, I understand at the very least what was the concept. You know, like, because remember, Anna was yearning for love, and this guy who wanted to stage a coup took over of her neediness and her naivety. the execution was very, very flawed, to put it mildly. But at the very least, I couldn't understand what was the idea behind it. This, I have no idea what the fuck the writer was thinking he was accomplishing with this. To be honest
you know
with
what, you know what, Pedro? To give Hans credit, it's not like he had, you know, a whole established prequel that pretty much showed him being nothing but good. Or at least,
Give
you
it
know,
time,
relatively
Disney Plus will
speaking.
probably find a series to do that. But before we actually conclude the part, what do you think, Shiri? Please go all out.
Pretty sure I've already made it clear that I hate this. Like, there was no indication that she would do this. It seems like they just picked a character for drama, like from the cast of the third game, and just went with Penelope. Okay, if
I'd
it
argue
turned
it
out
wouldn't
to
have been very
be
good regardless of the character, but anyway.
Well, oh, okay. Someone like the Panda King, I could buy being evil again. Penelope,
okay,
Yep.
but something I had in mind, like, I don't know how well this would have gone, but maybe having the villain be a rogue ancestor, or, you know, somebody, you know, I don't know, just someone relating to Sly. Like, the whole Penelope thing is stupid.
Okay. I'll argue against that one, because if it were a rogue ancestor, that could have messed up stuff.
I mean, that's kind of the point, but yeah.
I guess Shuri, the problem is like, well, we'd have to wonder, why is a rogue ancestor agreeing with something that would erase their time lineage and possibly
Hey,
kill
listen, I'm not a
themselves?
writer. That's for them to
Like
figure
I said,
that
the
out.
idea, like I said, with the right setup, something like that can happen. Again, something like, say someone is not pleased with what the range of the Cooper happens to be in the future, so rather than let it continue, wants it to be erased.
That could have been interesting, but yeah, everything.
Or not erasing it, just changing it enough, but also resulting in some consequences.
and
Because, you know,
that's the-
time travel. You know,
And that's
it's...
the interesting thing. At least on the Wikipedia page, it says part of the criticism of this game was, as it calls, the plot twist in episode 4.
I just want to make to say something before we go. Hey, all of you out there, if you want to become a writer, do all of us a favor. Read John Truby's Anatomy of Storybook, and so you can learn how to write properly. There you go.
Also,
But yeah, Shiroi, in a sense, there is something to be said. The ending is still gonna have its own problems, but I can tell you it's not gonna reach this level.
that's
But,
good at least. I mean, why is it always with characters I like as well? That just makes it worse.
I mean, it's like, well, I'll just say this.
Emmy, now this. I don't like it.
Like, yeah, the thing done with Penelope is quite possibly the shining beacon representation of just why I don't like this game in general. It feels way too disconnected from the original trilogy to properly be a sequel. And like I said, what a shock! Fans didn't like it! Word of mouth got out! Fans didn't buy it when you do stupid crap like this.
with all of this knowledge under our belt, we can reprise anything of it doing the final thoughts. But for the time being, see you for the next part when we enter Chapter 5, in Exotic Arabia to see just what happened to Salim al-Kupar. See ya.
See ya.
Yeah.